Hi Jerry and Tulika, welcome back to the Mountain Nights. Good to see you both.
Hi Shahid, hi ma'am.
Hello, Shahid and Jerry. It's good to see you both again. And on this forum where this meeting was long pending, and I'm glad that we all three could come together to talk on a topic that Shahid would be bringing about in just a few minutes.
Yeah. All right.
Good.
So you both must be aware of the topic, which is like the influence of age on your climbing ability, or let's say the relation between the age and your climbing, right, or any adventure activity for that matter. But we'll focus more on mountaineering. I came up with this particular topic because recently I came across a few people who were elderly in age, probably 40 plus of age, and they wanted to climb, but they had this concern of their age, and they asked me if they can climb just because they are plus 40 or plus 50. So, although I answered them accordingly, but I gave a thought about it at my personal level even, and I concluded that it's not about your age, right? For to be able to do mountaineering, let's say for an example, you should be capable physically, mentally, and technically, right? If you are able to possess these three things in an appropriate manner, nobody can stop you from doing climbing, right? I am personally aware of few people who were above 80 years, who were above 40 years of age. Some of them were 50, and I have met or I have seen few people who were again of age more than 60 to 70. They were still in some sort of adventure activity related to land, that is climbing the mountains, coming down, skiing, and mountaineering, for example. So this is what I have got to say, that age is of not much significance if you're able to do it, if you're prepared for it, if you know what that activity demands. Now, I would like both of you to give your experience about the same, citing few examples and your understanding about the same, right? So let's start with Tulika.
I suppose mountaineering is not age specific because as far as it goes about fitness, one can always maintain fitness if one is into it, and it is a continuing activity lifelong. So with age, what is added additionally is the experience, I would say. And age in itself does not bring wisdom, but it is the experiences that come to us with age that bring that wisdom. This wisdom, when it is manifested on the ground while one is climbing, can manifest itself into a maturity in decision making, as well as a better assessment of the ground situation when one is climbing. So I would, if we have to compare a naive person who has just started climbing and a person who has been into it for some years, I would say that the latter would bring that experience and associated wisdom in taking better decisions, because in mountain the situation changes very rapidly. One has to do weather assessment, one has to do multiple tasks in addition to just climbing. So climbing is not only a physical sport, but it encompasses a whole lot of plethora of issues into it. And a mature person who has seen a lot of climbing expeditions will be able to take better judgments if it comes to say weather assessment, if it comes to making a better strategy to climb, planning beforehand on before embarking onto an expedition, as well as taking decisions when to continue and when to return. Because in mountains, one has to be wise enough to take these decisions. Otherwise, people who are just filled with enthusiasm and brute strength, they might be tempted to continue even in adverse circumstances. There is a thin line when one needs to continue and when one needs to retreat and take a call to come back again. So this particular thing comes with age, and that is why I would perceive that the people who have been into it for some years would be better off in this aspect particularly.
Yeah, rightly said. I would agree to each and everything that you said. And do you have some? I'm sure you must be having some real life example where you would have come across people of age that is above 40 or 50, which generally comes into consideration of being an elderly age. And do you have some
Yes.
example? If you have, please talk about the same.
Yes, when I had been initiated into mountaineering, it was an Indian Air Force expedition, and we had been trained for 2 years on Himalayan expeditions before embarking onto Mount Everest. we had a great climber in form of our leader, who was 40 plus at that particular time. He was an exceptionally fit man, as well as he was a leader who could take decisions in all sorts of conditions. I have an example where on Mount Kamet, our team was in a snow blizzard for 6 hours. So his leadership qualities came to fore at that time when he could lead all of us safely, even in that adverse condition.
Right. Or any example from your Everest expedition?
He was a leader in Everest expedition also. So he's one. And I would also like to cite another example, which I came across in Iran when I was climbing Mount Damavand. A Polish climber, very renowned one, Veliki, and he has climbed. I suppose his team had attempted to climb K2 in winter, and Nanda Devi also in winter. So he is at that level of climbing. I saw him climb with us on Mount Damavand, though it is not a technical peak at all, but still I could see the kind of stamina he had, the kind of enthusiasm again he had, and the kind of wisdom he imparted off the mountain when we were in our briefing rooms. So I have come across these people, yes.
Yeah, nice. All right. So, Jerry, what do you have to say about the same subject? Now, over to you.
So this is one approach, talking about someone from a traditional expedition perspective. Uh, for me personally, being involved in alpine style of climbing and, not climbing with a very big team, I'll take a different approach to the same subject. For me, age is, yes, the experience, that's a good point, Tulika brought up. But age is irrelevant. You could be 60, 70, 80 and be eligible. I'm using the word very carefully, be eligible to climb if you are strong physically, technically, and if you're acclimatizing well. If you're a youngster, and you're likely to be a liability on your partner or on your team, then you have no business being in the mountain. So an older guy who can be an asset is, acceptable in the team. A younger guy, no matter how strong, if he's likely to be a liability, then he should not be in the team. Why age is irrelevant? Because the oldest man to climb K2, which even you guys will agree is one of the more difficult mountains to climb in the world. Carlos Fontan, the oldest man to climb Summit K2 is Carlos Fontan, and he did it at. Now, this is not a joke. You cannot climb K2 over 60 days. It's just not possible. It's a very difficult mountain. Every section on the mountain is challenging. So you have to be really good to be able to achieve this.
Jerry,
on the other hand, if to give personal examples, guys that I have climbed with or whom I have led in an expedition, there's in 2013 and again in 2015, I had the privilege of climbing with an Irish chap called Kevin Hines. He's no more. Unfortunately, he lost his life climbing Everest from the north. So I was leading him on a couple of 7,000 meter expeditions. And this guy at that time was, and Shahid will be able to vouch for me that I'm reasonably fast in the mountains.
Yeah.
And this guy was able to match, pace with me. So every time I was thinking 50 plus, maybe he will arrive 2 hours, 3 hours behind me. We have to go and do all the work. And I turn around and he's just 1 minute behind me. And there was no question of, me or my helpers carrying his weight or, helping him or prodding him or, trying to encourage him. He didn't need any of that. And Shahid knows the story with most of the clients, you need to be conscious, especially, the older clientele, they need to be spoon fed. But this guy was not like that. Then more recently, 2 years with an Italian father-son duo. The father was 62 years old. Same thing, good pace, So good that on the summit day, we were actually able to climb two mountains. So we did a mountain, descended down a col. I just asked him, do you want to climb one more? And he said, let's go for it. So these guys, as long as they can match your pace, they're not being a liability. In fact, they're being an asset. Why not? On the other hand, without naming names, Shahid and I had personally dealt with, someone 55, 56, who was a liability everywhere, not being able to walk, not being able to carry your own bag, us having to pull him, drag him. I'm talking at 3,500 meters. Now, full marks for enthusiasm. Going to be a liability on others in the team, then I think you should try a different sport.
So over
With
here,
all due respect, or prepare harder.
Yeah. So here that things comes into play, which I often say that your will must not overtake your judgment. So these people who actually become liability on others, their will is so strong. Like you said, for the enthusiasm, you give them full marks, right? So based upon their will is so strong, but they fail to analyze what actually their body is doing, right? Whether they are prepared or not. Leave apart technical abilities. Let's talk about your physical abilities, right?
I think this is where Tulika's point, about a good leader comes into the picture. That okay, if this guy is not able to do it, the leader has to take in the interest of this person or in the interest of the whole team. You tell him, okay, not this time, maybe another time. But in an alpine setup where you are required to be self-sufficient, especially above 7,000, above 6,000, 6,500 meters, where things are difficult already. And I'm purely talking about an alpine setup, I think age is just a number.
Right. And anybody who understands mountaineering and its requirement would, think twice before going. He or she would go only when, he or she is fit enough, technically sound enough, and mentally good enough to proceed ahead. But I have seen most of the cases, many people don't take these things into consideration. And personally, according to me, these are the people, like you said, to whom full enthusiasm marks could be given, and they are very much romantic about being in the mountains. They don't understand what exactly they are doing with respect to mountaineering. So in nutshell, it concludes that till the time you're aware of what you're getting into, probably you will be prepared. And if you are not prepared, we all would advise that one must not become liability on others, right? And leave alone becoming liabilities. If there are people who can actually rescue you in worst case scenarios, but there could be scenarios where there is no rescue possible. You could end up losing your life, right? Either you don't come if you want to come. So be prepared physically, mentally, technically. If you don't have anybody around you, I think people must get in touch with professionals where they can learn things about mountaineering, train themselves in mountaineering, spend some time with professionals, and then they can plan their future expeditions ahead. What do you say about this, Tulika?
Yeah, I was saying that with experience comes another thing, which is planning of one's load. Because Jerry was talking about alpine side climbing, and in that, all of us would agree that going light means going faster. And the lighter you are, I suppose, the faster you go, and more are your chances of success, depending upon the weather and other situations, of course. And an experienced person, I have realized that myself, knows what to essentially take and what to discard. Because when we live on plains, we have a paraphernalia of things associated with our comfortable lifestyle. But as you go up on the mountains, it is only necessary to carry the essentials without which the expedition will not be successful, and discard everything, absolutely everything that can hamper your speed or which is not necessary for your expeditions. So this knowledge, this wisdom comes with experience. Another thing that we were talking about, letting our body speak to ourselves. Knowing one's body is very important. So it is not always up to a leader to take a call when to return and when to continue. Yes, in adventure sports, we have to stretch our limits to a certain extent. We need to continue even when we are tired and exhausted at times. but one has to know one's own limits, and nobody else can judge our limits better than we can do. This
No,
judgment also.
Sorry to interrupt. I disagree, because it's easy to say that we know our limits. Vouch for you that 99 out of 100 people do not know their limits. So it's like, I have to go on. So
Like-
they need to be told, "Aapse nahi ho raha hai, you cannot do it." So, it is the leader's job, or, the deputy leader, to inform, look, and it may actually offend the person, because in the moment he does not realize that when he's being told that, he's not able to do it. I had to, okay, another example on a guy from Pune. He was not able to walk in a straight line. This is on Kuhn.
Yeah.
So the route to Camp 1 is not steeper than 20 degrees. It's a 20-degree slope, easy walk. He's not able to walk in a straight line. Camp 1 to Camp 2 is a steep 700-meter constant, persistent climb. And my judgment was that if this guy cannot walk at 5,000 meters in a straight line, there's no way he's going to climb a steep 60-degree wall for 5-6 hours, 700 meters. So I had to tell him that, look, you won't be able to do it. So it
See,
got
I
really
think
ugly.
that would come again with the knowledge that mountaineering is not a race. It's neither a competition with anybody,
This wasn't
nor
a
it
race.
is.
This was a traditional style expedition. That's what
I
I'm saying.
understand that.
So
Yeah, I understand that
is-
it happens. Yes,
yeah,
this
you
happens
have
in
to.
traditional style. Yes.
So,
So it may happen when one does not have this. See, there has to be a larger perspective developed in terms of mountaineering. That will come only when you read about great mountaineers. You also have a lot of exposure in mountains. And when you know that in front of the brute force of nature, human beings have to sometimes submit. And the examples that you were giving, yes, I have seen such examples also where the person is so determined to just get to the top. Why? Because this reaching onto the top as being the ultimate success has been wired into our minds. And this perception also needs to change. Our perception was changed when we discussed it on our expeditions, various expeditions that we did, totally 5 before we went on to Mount Everest. Leader had already told us that reaching onto the top is optional, coming back is mandatory. So I suppose a lot of people do not have this kind of a grooming into mountaineering before they actually step foot on the mountain. And herein will come the judgment, the wisdom. Our leader, he had accumulated wisdom of years and years, 25 years into the field of mountaineering. He imparted this to us over 5 expeditions. And thereafter, perhaps I personally was able to take a decision to turn back from the Lhotse phase, more than halfway up on Mount Everest, when I thought that I might become a liability on my team, though I was extremely fit at that particular time. And yes, being at Everest, we all had a burning desire to continue. And who wouldn't love to stand on top of Mount Everest? But still, I was able to take a decision to retreat and come back again next year. So I suppose this exposure is also important. A lot of people just dream nowadays because adventure sports have become a kind of fame-seeking. Quick fame comes if you climb to the top of a mountain. So that perception also needs to change. A lot of theoretical knowledge, wisdom needs to put into a person's mind before they actually step foot onto a mountain. I would divert it a little bit because we are all connected to military in some ways. And what is done in military? A gun is not just handed over to you, right to pull the trigger. First, a person is told about the gun. So as I was an air traffic controller, my job was to control the planes, but I was not given the radio telephony on the very first day, despite our theoretical knowledge of a year or so. We were given the ground knowledge first, and only after that, we were given the actual RT to be handled by us. And this approach, I suppose, is missing in India at least, because people go to mountain first and later learn about mountaineering. Some kind of a knowledge has to be given to them before they actually set foot on that dangerous slope of any mountain.
All right. So ultimately, the things come to this, what I said before, that know what you're doing. If you're not aware of things, better get in touch with a professional, get yourself trained, and start with feeling the lower ground. Start with the small altitude, start with the peaks that are less difficult, and then realizing your potential, realizing your abilities, decide whether you want to proceed ahead or you want to leave this particular activity. And if you want to go ahead, prepare yourself accordingly, keep yourself fit mentally, physically, technically, and then continue climbing, irrespective of your age. So I think that's all we have got to say in our own words, and that's it. Anything any one of you would like to add before we conclude this talk?
You summarized it
I
quite
think
well.
I think most things are covered, right?
Yeah. All right. So, ठीक है, Jerry and Tulika for being with us, and we'll catch up soon with another such interesting topic for our viewers, so that they can learn and understand more things related to mountaineering. See you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right.